Welcome BPLM1. Today we are looking at management of operations in our stores, in our warehouses. We all know what storekeeping is, why we keep goods in the store. From our first lecture, we said we keep for protection from fire, from damage, so that to easily locate some of these products in our stores. And that is why storekeeping is important. You may call it storekeeping, you may call it warehousing. And we said it is the physical storage of goods in our stores or our warehouses. Remember, we looked at all kinds of warehouses, different types of warehouses. They may be small, they may be big. But what are the objectives of these warehouses that we have? What are the objectives of these stores? One of the objectives is economy. What do we mean by economy? Economy is about running the store at the lowest cost possible. That is economic, to cut down on costs incurred when managing a store. Have the right number of people in the store, have the right amount of inventory levels in the store, and then you will be running it economically. Because anything that incurs high costs impacts on the final price of the product, which will impact on our profitability at the end of the day. We also have the objective of receiving goods that come in and storing them. You sort them at the entry point, you sort them, check for quality, store them. When the time for requisition comes, you issue them to the people that are interested in using them. If they are customers with different orders, you dispatch them to the different locations. You may dispatch to Mukono, you may dispatch to Kampala, you may dispatch to Tororo or Amuri. And that's the dispatch process that we shall look at later. Inspection is very, very important, especially when goods are being received. Are the goods that have been brought the ones that were ordered in quantity, in quality? How sure are we that they are not damaged? Recently, we had the saga of our maize being rejected that was going to Kenya. And we need to ask ourselves, when this maize was received from whoever the supplier was there inspection to ensure that it met the quality standards? Then why was it rejected if it met the quality standards? What does this tell us? That the inspection job was not well done. So it is very, very important that you spell out clear inspection procedures. Drugs coming in, what time are they delivering them, so that you can inspect them. And inspection should be an activity where you take your time to inspect every good. When the goods come in, you have to store them in the warehouse. Now, different goods have different storage areas. One of the final topics during this semester will be the locator systems. Do some goods have permanent location systems, whereby you know that if it is cement has to be stored in this permanent location, and yet other goods don't have permanent location systems. So where are you storing the goods? Storage is very important to help the next activity of identification and location. You cannot identify the location of a good that you do not know where you store it. Thank God today we have warehouse management systems that have improved this activity of identification. In that when you store a product, you note the location of the product in the system, and when you're trying to find the product before you dispatch it, it is very easy to type in the item and it will give you the location of the item immediately. Stock checking and control. We have stored goods in our warehouse. Do we wait until dispatch to check on them? No, we do not. Once goods are in a warehouse, they may be prone to very many things, like theft, like getting damaged. So it is important that you keep checking on this stock. Check its condition. Is it still in good condition? Is it where it was put? In the right quantities? The right quality? At times you may have rodents in the store which are damaging the goods. So you need to check the records, because once you're storing the products, you record that I've stored 100 bags of cement. So when you're checking this, your stock card should reflect what is actually in the store. There should be no discrepancy. Once there's a discrepancy, then there's a problem. And that is why it is important to carry out stock taking and checking. We shall look at this activity in one lecture, whereby we have people who do the counting, the staff who do this activity to ensure that there are no discrepancies in the records. Security is very important, whether a warehouse, whether a stockyard. We have talked about pilferage, theft and damage, fires. Think of this. Why is it that very many markets tend to be engulfed in flames? In Uganda, we have had instances of markets ending up in flames. Why? Why is it a vicious circle? We have not emphasized the importance of security. Security is not just about theft. Fires kill people. Fires destroy businesses. And unfortunately, these may not be insured. So how are we going to manage security? There are so many ways to manage security. Have CCTV cameras. Don't allow certain people in stores. There should be a policy in regards to who is supposed to enter a store or not. Firefighting equipment should be in place. Training of personnel. Having windows, fencing. This ensures security. We also have to keep optimum levels of stock. Remember in our first lecture, we say too much inventory is bad because you're tying up a lot of money in the inventory or in the stock. But also, too little inventory is very dangerous because you may find yourself running out of stock and your production process being affected. So we need to come up with which is the right level of inventory to have. And that is what we refer to as the optimum inventory level. During this course unit, we're going to look at ways of determining optimum inventory levels, the economic order quantity, the reorder points to determine which are the best levels for our safety stock, and reorder levels. Wastage is also another important activity that has to be done. Waste, what is waste? There are so many ways we get involved in waste when it comes to storage and warehousing. At times by having too much inventory, by having too much movement in the stores, by having non-value adding activities in the stores. In the quest to clean waste, we're going to identify these non-value adding activities which bring waste to us, and waste is a cost to our organization. One of the wastes we're facing in this country, especially in the pharmaceutical industry, in hospitals, is having drugs that expire. Why are we having drugs that expire? The people working in the health centers, what do they know about reorder labels? What inventory replenishment systems are they using? Remember, when you're issuing out drugs, you need to look at which one is expiring first, is what you should be issuing first. Not first in, first out. No. You look at the expiry date first. Why are we having shortages of blood, and yet in some places, blood is going to waste, not being utilized? This is the waste we are talking about, that we need to cut on wastage. Another activity is disposal. Now, when it comes to disposal, we appreciate that items may become obsolete. Drugs may expire in our warehouses. Now, this means we have to dispose them off. How are we going to dispose them off? Are we disposing them in an environmentally friendly way? And does something have to be expired to be obsolete for disposal? No. We are going to look at what it means to be obsolete. A t-shirt that was supposed to be used on 12th August for an activity. After 12th August, today is 15th March 2021. That t-shirt, even if still new, is obsolete because its usefulness has passed. That renders it obsolete. And so you have to dispose it. You can do this by giving it to charity, to schools. Information and record keeping is a very important activity in stores. You have to have records of what has come in, what you're issuing, in that what you have that has come in and what goes out tallies when you do the simple mathematics to know what records you have in store. This has been simplified by the warehouse management systems again, where we have the EPOS, electronic point of sale, that captures all that goes out at the exit point. And when you tally at the end of the day, you have all the records. Records are very important for you to know what needs replenishment, what needs restocking. You also need information on consumption patterns. If you have the right information, you will know which are the fast moving goods in your warehouse and which are the slow moving goods. This will help you to determine the reorder points, the safety stock level. It will help you determine the economic order quantity. But this can only happen if you have information with you. So, what are the functions of this activity called storekeeping? As you can see, we need to be able to anticipate demand because we have the information of what goes out and what comes in and what goes out at what rate. That means you can be able to anticipate demand. Like I said, the fast moving goods, the slow moving goods, and the non moving goods at all. You're also going to find yourself receiving information in the right condition, like we said, right quality, right quantity. But this has got to be in line with the local purchase order that was issued to the supplier. Ensure that whatever is delivered on the delivery note rhymes with what is on the LPO. We also need to classify our materials. How do we classify materials? There are so many ways of classifying materials. We have the ABC analysis, which looks at the A items, B items, and C items. 20% of the inventory is responsible for about 80% of the monetary value. This we shall look at as we move on. But also, there are those that I said are fast moving. Then at times you may look at them as essential goods. This is classifying because different classifications of inventory need to have different strategies when it comes to storing them. You cannot store gold the way you store bricks. These are two different items in terms of value and demand. That is why on a site you will find cement is locked up inside and yet sand is left outside. This is all due to classification. Proper placement is very, very important. I talked about storage locator systems. You cannot locate something that you didn't place well. Where have you placed it? Now, this is going to be determined by the characteristics of the product. You will find that some items have to be placed on the floor and some have to be placed on the shelves. Those that tend to be placed on the floor are bulky in most cases and may need some kind of equipment to carry them off. Avoid carrying heavy items physically because this may have an impact on your health. Where are we placing our products? In a store, we emphasize that there must be a place for everything and everything should be in its place for easy location and identification. Verification, we talked about this with stock taking exercise and stock checking. This is all about verification to see that what is inside is what the records tell us to ensure that there is no discrepancy. And here we find a new activity, codification. What do we mean by codification? Codification is about a signature, an identity number. Every item in a store needs to have a unique identification number, just like we all have different NIN numbers on our national identity cards. A code is like a fingerprint. Each one is unique in its own way. Different items have different codes. This helps with information management, with stock checking, stock taking, verification. We are going to look at the coding exercise very soon, and we shall see the different ways of coding different items. If we look at this table here, for example, we see furniture has FU, iron may be coded as IR, steel ST. Now, we shall learn later that there are different kinds of steel. If it is half inch, it may be ST 1.5. If it is 2 inch, it may be ST 2. If it's 3 inch, it may be ST 3, depending. Same story with all these other items. Each should have a unique identification that helps you to identify it. Protection of materials from damages, we said in stores, at times there are damages that take place due to handling, due to double handling, due to poor handling. But if we're going to manage waste, it is very important that we protect these goods. How are we protecting them? How are we packaging them in our stores to ensure safety? Failure to adhere to safety causes waste and causes losses to an organization and causes costs, therefore going against our earlier principle of economy. We have a materials receipt note. It may also be referred to as a goods received note, whereby any item that comes into the store, a goods received note has to be issued by the storekeeper, showing what has been received, in what quantities, and at what time. This is very, very important for the record keeping part of it, we say. Records are very important. They help you to make decisions with top management, with functional people, and operational people. The stores department is going to play a very important role of advising the other departments, the functions of the procurement, finance, on which are the fast moving goods, which are the goods that get damaged quickly, which are the right maximum levels, which are the minimum levels, which are the appropriate reorder levels. So you find you're advising other departments on which are the right levels for them to set to ensure that the organization is competitive and is profitable. What does that tell you? That stores department has a relationship with all the other departments. And this is very, very important for us to note. Which takes us to also requisition. How do we handle requisitions? When people want to get items from our stores, do we have a policy on requisition? We're going to look at the store's manual or a store's policy that sets out clearly who is responsible for requisitions, how issuance of materials should be done. Not everyone should be coming into the store for requisitions. There should be people allocated that responsibility, people to sign, because you find that you have to be accountable at the end of the day. And that is why we have record keeping, very important, that we talked about. Record keeping, you cannot rule out the importance of records in stores. If you're going to carry out stock taking, you need to have the right records. If you're going to dispose of items, you need to have records of those that are obsolete, those that have expired. You need to have records of those that are surpluses. And why did you have to have surpluses anyway? And yet you are an inventory manager. Why have so much in stock, yet you know that stock is a cost to an organization? Like I said, from the advisory function, we shall find that stores, warehousing has to coordinate with finance and accounts. Finance is interested in the monetary value of the what's in the store because these are assets to the organization. How are they going to put them? How will that reflect on the financial statement for the accounts? Administration and production are interested in the day-to-day running of the organization. Someone does not want to come and needs toner to print something for the board meeting and it's not there. Purchasing needs to know what is low in inventory so as to initiate purchases. So you are working with the whole organization. You cannot work in isolation. Like we say, information with top management to make decisions, to make strategies, to formulate policy. This information has to flow from down to the top, but also from the top to the bottom. This information needs to be communicated at the right time, in the right form. So, what do we need to have in place to have this activity successful? We need to have the right location of the store. Where is it located in this organization? Is it centrally located or is it located somewhere behind, hidden, where no one can even recognize that it exists? Where you locate it is very important. Think about it in a hospital. Where do they locate the pharmacy? You're in a hospital, you're a patient. The doctor has made a prescription and you have to walk 500 meters to a pharmacy. Because in this case, the pharmacy is a store. This will affect on customer service. So just like in the pharmacy in a hospital, any other organization, where have you located your stores? Do people have to walk down the basement into something dingy, so dark that they can't see anything? The layout of the store determines movement of goods, determines what kind of equipment you're going to use. We're going to look at types of equipment in the store, the manual, the semi-automatic, then the automated ones. Stores have advanced. Equipment is being used for free movement of materials and easy movement. But this is all going to be determined by layout. And layout also determines where you place different goods. The fast moving goods tend to be placed near the front, near the exit point. And the slow moving goods tend to be put behind. But being put behind does not mean that you don't inspect them. Because once you put them behind and they are away from your eyes, they can easily be stolen. Protection of materials. We have talked about protection against fire, theft, and damage. Because these are our assets. How do we protect them? We need to keep them in good condition, especially when it comes to items like flammable materials. How do you protect such items? The other week I told you about the cold chain. Some goods have to be stored under certain temperatures for them to keep in good condition. You also need personnel that is well trained to ensure that they have the right skills, they have the right attitude. Attitude and personality is very, very important when it comes to productivity of workforce. Can we have people who are well trained? If they have the right skills, they'll be able to classify the different inventories using maybe the ABC analysis. They'll be able to have codes for all the items, having an identification number for every item in the store that we talked about. And once they are well trained and skilled, they'll be able to handle the equipment that we have, whether it is a forklift or counterbalance systems. They'll be able to operate the different trucks. And that is why this activity is very, very important.